All right. Hi, my name is Shane Stewart. Today I'm going to bring you a little something different on the channel. Today I'm going to show you what I've been working on in terms of virtual instruments and trying to get better at orchestration. I don't know if this is of any interest to anybody on the channel. Might be useful. You might hate it. But this song that I did from Final Fantasy X was more or less a test for me. So just a little background, I've played music for about 15, 16 years, but I'm self-taught, never learned how to read music, specifically sheet music or anything like that. I've always learned by ear. I always found it easier. So what I set out to do with this track specifically was to read sheet music and try and write it out on the MIDI outputs. That went all right to a degree. It was very slow because, again, I write by ear and it's much quicker, whereas reading it I have to go like, okay, that's an A, and I'm using like a cheat sheet on the side for where each note is on the bar. So just to start out, I don't read sheet music. If I use any incorrect descriptor for music, I do apologize. Again, I'm kind of terrible in that way. So let's just get down to it. So what I did here, for this entire track, the piano part was just with the sheet music. There was one part here at the beginning that I'll show in just a second that I had read on the sheet music, but I think that whomever transcribed what I was using did it incorrectly because I listened to the song back and it seemed to be wrong. And that's not taking anything away from whoever wrote it. It was a fan who transcribed it clearly. And mistakes happen. Like sometimes they could have used a truncated version of the song to begin with. But anyways, so the piano parts here completely done using the sheet music, and yeah, let's see how that came out. I love this song from the game. Okay, so it then repeats itself. But anyways, so I started out with that bass track, and so once all that was in place, and again, certain parts I had to fix by ear because it didn't sound right, and that doesn't mean it wasn't correct, just it wasn't something that I particularly felt fit, and I fixed it up how I thought it should sound, and based on the track that I listened to, that's how it does sound. Again, I could be incorrect, and the actual track itself has so much music, and I'm pretty sure that whoever wrote this out wrote it out only for piano, because in the actual track I believe it's a woodwind that plays the melody. So anyways, I started out with that, which is really cool, and for me an absolute dream, because I've wanted to work with these kind of instruments for so long. And oh, side note, I'm using Nucleus. All of the stuff that you see on the side here, do not take any advice from me about, because I still need to get better at arranging this stuff. As you can see, this is just a mess, like string sustain full, string sustain full. It's just a bunch of things that I copy and pasted. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. I'm still learning, and I need to actually build up a template for the instruments so that it does make sense. My recommendation is to have like a side folder for like strings, then each of the instruments that you want. Nucleus has a great setup, so do what you want. Don't take my advice on that, because I am very chaotic when it comes to all of this. I finally came out with a layout I loved for the video game tracks, like the metal tracks, but everything else, it's a learning process. This is basically where I started 5 years ago with doing my own stuff, and clearly I'm better in certain respects, but I'm terrible in others. Anyways, so once we had the piano in place, then it came down to doing some stuff by ear, because it was only written out for piano. Now, the first thing I did was I went to the actual track itself and listened to it back and tried to pick out the instruments. Sometimes I'm not the greatest with that, but I think I got close. So this is the piano part with the woodwind. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I want to go through this piece by piece. But anyways, let's hear how that sounds with the woodwind. See, still following the melody. And right there, I'm already hearing one, because I've been listening to this with all the instruments. I'm hearing that this needs to be sustained a little bit longer. So just hop in there. One thing you can do here, and I would recommend, is if you're using Reaper, I don't know what DAW you would be using, but there is a mod wheel here, and you can actually go through and add specific articulations. So if you want the notes to sound more natural, you can just go through and write them. I'm not going to do it on this right now, just because I don't want to have to undo everything, but you can go through, and same with the actual velocity. Everything here, because I had did some copying and pasting from other stuff that I had written out, is set to the hardest velocity, so it's essentially a direct attack on the note, which isn't really organic for the actual instruments themselves. Like, most of the time it's a slow build-up. That's stuff I'm going to fix along the way. I'm probably going to put this up, like the full cover up on YouTube at some point, but right now I'm just having fun with it. Anyways, so once I had the woodwinds in place, because I knew that that was more or less what that sound was, I started to, toy with some things. I really liked the idea of having spiccato strings, which is just a really quick flurry of notes that's just, immediate attack and then blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so I added in, actually, let me just look at what I added in. Oh, side note, I had watched a video by Alex Makula, and if I'm saying that name wrong, I really do apologize. But he was using this compressor on his strings, and it's free. Yeah, it's a free. This one's free. It's a free compressor that works quite well with strings. It does give them a bit more bite and a bit more attack. So if you're interested, check that out. But anyways, this is the 16 violins playing spiccato, and then 10 violas. Okay, and then cellos. So that's what I did here. So you hear that piano arpeggio. It might be an arpeggio. Ignore me if I'm saying things incorrectly. But just the flourish of notes that leads into the next part. I thought it would sound really, really cool with some violins and violas and cellos playing it. So just I'll do the build up to that part, and then you can hear it. So again, this is where knowing how to set all this up comes in handy, because I'm sure there's a better way to do this than what I'm currently doing. So you can see that I had the spiccato notes here, and then above it, because you notice how it just petered out towards the end there, I have the sustain notes. So let's hear that again. Yeah, like that sounds really cool. Like it added such a nice little flourish to it that wasn't there. Anyways, so we've got all these in here now. One thing I also want to mention, if you want a really cool, and again, this was also Alex, I saw he was and I've seen a couple of people use this Valhalla Shimmer. It's $50. This thing sounds great and adds a bit more of a room feel to your mixes. So just it's really cool to use. Anyways, I keep going on tangents. This is clearly why I don't have my voice in many videos. Anyways, so once I had more or less this beginning built out, because the piano was completely written out, which was more or less the easy-ish part. So once that was there, I wanted to start building towards that midsection, because when it does this build-up, it's really cool. And now you need to build into something. So a good rule of thumb is if you're going to have no sound, it has to resolve. Like what's there has to be resolved before, if you're going to drop it. If it's not resolved, it doesn't make any sense. So what I wanted to do was build it right back up into, just a blast of sound. So what I did was I went in here into Nucleus again. I'm gonna pronounce all of these wrong because I'm not familiar with these instruments. So get ready for some butchering. Timpani, probably timpani. Yep, gonna go with that. Hey, added some toms as well, and all of these are just essentially doing crescendo rolls, so just the build up to something really cool. So I added in essentially the toms, the timpani, and then the grand cassis are all doing crescendo rolls, about 1 second I believe it is, and then I added in this crash right at the end of it. So, leading into this whole part is... See? It has a bit of a build. I could have a little bit better of a build, and I think I might put more emphasis on these guys to really drive it home. So the next part that I wanted to add is I wanted a little bit more rhythm for this next section. So this one I just played out by myself. And it's such a simple progression. It's just dun 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 dun, or dun 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 dun. And it's very easy to just play out on the keyboard with the rhythm. Percussion and rhythm in general is always something that I try and do my best at, but I find drummers are better with that idea, and so it's a learning process. Anyways, so the next part then builds into this. So I just want to see something quick. Did I throw? I think it must be the Valhalla Shimmer, because if you take off the let's pull that off, because you notice you're hearing some reverb on that. Whereas if I throw the Valhalla Shimmer back on, you're going to hear a bit more reverb. kind of sounds cool with it, and with the entire sound there, it does sound a bit more full. But regardless, so there was a sound when I was listening back to the actual song that I could not for the life of me figure out. If you listen to the track, there's like this, I want to say like a wave sound or something. I really couldn't figure it out. So I was looking through Expand, which is actually quite... Oh, apparently I threw Valhalla Shimmer on this too. I have no idea why. But apparently it's there for a reason, so it must sound cool. Anyways, so I had gone through a bunch of the percussive bits of Expand, just trying to find something that sort of sounded like what I want, and so this is what that sounds like. Now, the best way I could describe the sound, and again, because I can't pick out the instrument and it could just be a random sound library, is it just sounded like a crash of waves, which was really befitting of Final Fantasy X because there's so much emphasis on water. But this sounded actually somewhat close to it, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want. So that's what I went with. Anyways, so then I wanted to add in, for this next part, some brass, more emphasis on... so this says woodwinds. I have no idea why it says woodwinds. I think it might have been because I copy and pasted, or this used to be titled that. I'll look at it later, so just ignore that. But I also wanted a bit of a choir feel to it. So in this next part, I added in some flutes to it and a choir section to it. So I'm adding in a bit more of the sounds that I was using, just so you get a full idea of what this sounded like. So here's a whole string section, sustained again, separated. And this is why don't follow what I say 100%, because it all says sustained strings full, but I'm pretty sure this is 16 violins. Let's just see. Yep. What's this? The violas? Yeah, 10 violas. I am a frickin' idiot. I don't know why these are all turned off. I think it might have been just too much, or I was still learning how to use OTT, because the initial sound you get from OTT is like a huge boost, and so you just got to get adept at pulling down the gain phases. Again, if I'm saying that incorrectly, sue me. Don't sue me. Anyways, 6 Chile. Let's add that. So when you add all of that into it, I'm going to hold back the brass section for a second. So coming into this is how it sounds. So the one part there that I had... Oh no, the choir's at the very end there. Never mind. I had a high part of the choir at the very end. So anyways, now that we have all these string spots, which sound great to me. Like Nucleus's library is awesome. But yeah, all these string items at different octaves carrying this through. I was then like, okay, well, maybe a brass section might work here, because it all sounds really full, but I still want it to carry through and have a bit more bite. So then I added the brass section here. And again, I'm going to get better at doing this, and I do apologize, but let's just go with what we got. So here it is with the brass section. And this is actually where I can show you. Oh, sorry. The what I was talking about with the mod wheel. So this section I was just like, I don't really care about this right now. I'm gonna go back and do it. You can see that the velocity on some of these I switched up because they were coming in a bit too strong. Like, essentially what I wanted the brass to do is just carry that background rhythm, and it does it really well by keeping some of the sounds low. But towards the end, I did want it to have that little bit of bite to bring it up. And so I did a slow build to this section, just went really hard on the note here, and then just did a soft exit and used the velocity wheel. So essentially to do that, you just hit Control and then draw with your mouse. And then you can just drag down and fix it up as you go. Anyways, so we get the brass section in there. Sounds really cool. Sounds nice. So, where are we at here? Oh, yes. So we're going into the next section, and I did want to have a little bit of low brass to it. You see later on I did add some more instruments. Some of that might get added backwards, but I do think that having this first section be very, like, you know, a build-up, but not the full thing is kind of nice. Gives a little bit of variation to both sections. Anyways, so low brass I then added here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything else, which it looks like I am. Oh, yes. So I'm going to add the low brass, and also this violin section, which essentially just carries the melody that you were hearing, because I just wanted a small string section to also emphasize that melody. I'm going to add a bit more of the... Actually, I think I did. I added a bit of velocity here. That looks insane. So I'm going to have to fix that at some point. But you can see that all of these notes are essentially the same punch. Like, they're all at the same... What the hell? Is that also got... Oh, no, I took the shimmer off of it. Weird. Let's just keep that off. But the OTT does give it a bit more bite here. Anyways, so let's hear it with up until that point where we get past the brass section. Actually, you know what? We'll listen to this full thing with the choir at the end. So this part of the choir, I did a high end to really emphasize the ending note. So we're going to listen to this full section, and then we're going to move on to the next section where I built up. Sorry for the long-winded explanations. So you can hear that high choir at the very end. I had the that choir, like the octave higher choir with it, but I didn't feel like it added as much as just the last couple of notes to it, because it really does enhance that ending. Now, the one thing that I forgot here to add is I wanted something else with a distinctly different sound to woodwind and strings to also carry the melody, because I thought it really, really emphasized the melody. So here, I added a glockenspiel. I'm I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. So this is you heard how it sounded there. This is how it sounds with the glockenspiel added. See, then it goes back into the beginning progression, which is great. So, I don't know why I have this brass section here that doesn't have anything. I probably intended to do something, but because it's not doing anything, we're just going to get rid of it. Anyways, so after writing this first section and going back into what was there at the beginning, it then became how can we change it for the next section, because I wanted to maintain that beginning where it's really nice and lovely through there, but then I want it to be a little bit different when it comes back into this. So this is the part that I'm still working on and I'm still fine-tuning, so there are bits of it, and especially at the end, that need to be modified because they were cool ideas, and when I wrote it without the music in the background, it really sounded great, but then when you add the music in, it doesn't fit. Like certain elements of it fit, but certain don't. But I do want to show this just because I think it is good to look at what I think is some of the failures. Also here, I added in the double bass, which I think sounds great. So we're gonna do that. So we're going to do the lead up, and then I'm going to show you the section where it's got some arpeggios happening. So here we go. That I was talking about right at the very end there. This like it sounds cool, but I think it could be smoother, and it might be better to do more sustained notes towards the end. It's just I really do like this this section that has the arpeggios here. So it all sounds really like it's coming along quite well, I think. It's not perfect yet, but again, I also don't really like to think that anything can get 100% perfect. Then I do like some of the human failure elements that come out of it. It's the same with any of the metal covers that I do. I do like to keep even some of the mistakes that I do because that's a human performance. Like yes, I can go back and I can do it 100 million times, but I can't do that live. And I do play all these things back and get better and better at it. But I do think for the time of recording, it does benefit from having some of the human failures. Anyways, that is pretty much the end of this track. If you enjoyed watching this, or if you enjoyed the content, subscribe to the page, let me know. I have no problem looking at a couple more or any of these because I'm trying to get better at this, and sometimes even sitting down and listening to it and talking to a camera helps the process. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Subscribe to the page, share it with your friends, and let me know what you think below. Take care. Have yourself a wonderful day.